Pranakasha livestream.
Hey folks, it's Matt at Pranakasha Productions, otherwise known as the Star Trek cello guy and or the lead singer of the Macadamians party band. And today I'm talking with Chris Cushman, who is an uber Star Trek fan, a member of the Trek Enadi. But you didn't hear from me, otherwise I'd have to kill you. So we ran into each other on Twitter because you posted a post with that poster in the background.
Oh, this one back here?
Yeah, but it's got a cutaway of this Enterprise 1701A, right?
No, this is the 1701. It was from Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Right. And I had that exact poster in my bedroom when I was in high school before the movie came out. So I used to stare at that, waiting patiently for the actual movie to be released.
Before the movie came out?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's my memory of it.
The poster was pretty much came out simultaneous with the movie.
Oh.
But, I mean, depending on where you were at, I mean, I think there were some promos that went out ahead of the movie in 79. I bought my first copy at the movie theater. I was in university, and a whole bunch of us piled up into a car and drove the hour. And
well, then we may be experiencing yet another example of the Mandela effect.
Oh, might be.
I shifted timelines, obviously. So I'm in the timeline where it came out during or after the movie release.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Oh, well.
Okay, cool.
But so you're in college, so you're even older than me.
Older.
I thought I was proving myself to be old to admit that I was in high school when Star Trek: The Motion Picture came out, which is in the 80s, folks.
Yeah,
back then we listened to Van Halen and AC/DC and Led Zeppelin.
Oh, we did too.
And Pink Floyd, and so on. All the when rock and roll was good.
Oh, really good. But Back in Black was my favorite album that year.
I remember when that album came out.
Yeah, it was that.
In fact, I had a guitar. I had a 6-string guitar where I learned how to play Hell's Bells.
Oh, nice.
And then I also listened to Van Halen 2. Because a friend of mine told me, yeah, this is really like one of the best hard rock bands. And I remember the very first time I listened to it, I was listening to the backup vocals, and they were so beautiful. I was like, wow, this is hard rock. Listen to how good those backup vocals are.
Yeah. I love Van Halen. I saw them in concert. They were great.
Cool.
Yeah. So in 79 was when the movie came out, December of 79. So right at the very tail end.
2 years after Star Wars.
2 years after Star Wars.
Yep.
We had all been, watching the ball go back and forth between TV series and movie and TV series.
Mm-hmm.
It didn't seem like Paramount knew what the hell they were going to do until finally the movie came out.
Right.
And went to the theater just, thinking that I was just going to go for the movie. And they were selling these rolled up. You could buy these rolled up. I think they were like $7.
Wow.
At the movie theater, which even back in 79, $7 to a college kid was like, that was like all the food that I could eat on a Sunday when the cafeteria was closed. So,
I'm trying to remember where I got mine. I'm pretty sure I might have ordered mine through the mail or something.
Could be, and I think Pepsi or Burger King, one of those two, had done a really big promo of which that was part of. You could get a smaller one at the store, and then you could order a larger one through that. And the deal is that what I was in university for was technical illustration.
Oh, cool.
And we all knew who drew this as a gentleman by the name of David Kimball.
Oh, nice.
And David Kimball I don't know if you were like the rest of us at the time, but Car and Driver, Road and Track magazine
Mm-hmm.
would always have these super crazy detailed cutaways of the latest and greatest cars, sports cars, usually a motor, or it that they were just the things that we would buy the magazines for because they were like the ultimate in illustration. And David
Cool.
Kimball was literally at the top of that field. And
Nice.
that's what I was in school for. And I saw this thing and I'm like, holy crap. Like, I'm going to see the movie, but I'm getting an illustration out of the deal too. And it was great. So had it in college. Everybody loved it. It was super cool. They were all happy it was David Kimball because he was kind of our human god on earth character. And follow on to 1980. I want to say 88.
Okay.
89. I'm working for General Motors and I'm off to a meeting at the main Cadillac building in Detroit.
Right.
And I'm sitting in the lobby waiting to be entered in. And this guy walks up to the counter and he's loud enough that I could hear his voice. And he's telling the lady at the desk, "Hi, I'm David Kimball," as if she's
She
supposed
would
to
know.
know what that means,
Yeah.
And I'm like, holy shit, I know what that means. And I leapt up and I was like, "You're David Kimball, the illustrator?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Wow." I said, "You're my hero." And he was like, "Really?" And it was it's one of those kismet kind of moments. And he ended up coming back the next day up to my desk at the GM Tech Center, and he had told me to bring my portfolio, and I started to work for him freelance.
Nice.
So I was working for the dude,
Your guy.
my guy, like almost out of the gate, and so unbeknownst to him, I had started watching Star Trek: The Next Generation.
Uh-huh.
And I had started to do a cutaway of the Enterprise D, a true ode to David Kimball. It was just a pencil drawing. It was not licensed. It was not, no one knew about it. I was doing it as a passion project. And I had brought it along and I said, "Hey," I said, "would you mind painting this?"
Hmm.
I drew it, but if you painted it, then we could sell it as a poster. And he was like, "Wow, this is fantastic." And he was like, "But no way am I going to paint it." He goes, apparently the deal that he had with Paramount was not great. He did not cash in
On the residuals or anything like that.
on the sales like he was supposed to, and it left a bad taste in his mouth.
Mm.
But he had a lot of friends there, and I don't know if you ever saw the Star Trek: The Motion Picture blueprints, but he drew those as well. He actually worked on a lot of Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
I have the original blueprints. Like that.
The Franz Joseph ones.
Yeah, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah, the TOS ones.
Yeah,
I got them
TOS
over there.
Franz Joseph. Really, the TOS blueprints is what got me to want to be an illustrator.
I got to tell you, I'll tell you, I figured out a solution to the conundrum in those blueprints.
Are you talking about the bridge?
I'm talking about the engine room.
Oh, yeah.
So those blueprints have the engine room located right here by the warp engines.
And we both know that that's not it.
Right, and here's why it is that way. The reason why they did that is because Section 32 didn't want them publishing the real location of the
Oh,
engine rooms because it was the most vulnerable part of the ship.
okay. I can buy into that in theory.
Because we
Um,
all know it really is down here.
it is down there, and to be honest
That's where
with
the
you,
intermix chamber is, and that's where it goes up the pylons and then the cells and
all that stuff, and
right.
to be honest with you, the reason why Franz Joseph put it up there at the top of the saucer section was because Matt Jeffries had done a very rudimentary cutaway that was in the Making of Star Trek paperback book,
Mm-hmm.
and it clearly shows the engine room up there, and so he just went with it. Matt or Franz Joseph is, kind of a hero to me in a way, but at the same time, he too was really only an what could be best described as an Uber fan. He wasn't really a fan at all. It was his daughter that was the fan,
Hmm.
and he drew all that stuff for his daughter. Right? He did it for her, and those blueprints mean so much to me. I have my own set. They originally bought in the store by myself, and that's what got me to want to be an illustrator. And then when I saw the Kimball poster at the movie theater, I was like, man, I got to do that myself. And then I meet him and start to work for him on car projects. And
Wow.
and he was like, he goes, I'm not going to paint it, but what I'll do is I'll send you to the right people to start the process of finding a licensing body that will take it on.
Fun. Do
And
you still work for GM?
no, 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 no. That was a long time ago. That was during the 80s, most of the 80s. Then I ended up over at Ford Motor Company for, I don't know, 10 or 15 years. They moved me up here to Toronto in a
Okay.
completely other position that was not in illustration. So I moved from Detroit to Toronto, and but my Enterprise D poster, sold
Right with you.
250,000 copies.
Wow.
A lot. You know,
If you got like $5 for a copy, that was like 1.25 million.
we got 1995 a copy.
What did you get?
What I got was I got a little bit of money, probably, all in total out the door. I probably made $6,000 or $7,000.
Okay.
And then the lady who was the official licensee of the product ghosted me on royalties.
Hmm.
So here I am reliving kind of what David Kimball went through.
Mm-hmm.
I had to take her to court.
Oh wow.
It was a 2-day trial with a jury. Her lawyer did the worst job possible, didn't bother to ask any of the jurors, the prospective jurors, if they were Star Trek fans, of which they literally all were. And when they came back and gave me they awarded me the win, and also awarded me punitive damages that were not necessarily prescribed for that trial.
Hmm.
And so, it was going to be a super big payday until the very next day after the trial. A man comes to my door and hands me an envelope and says, well, I just filed for bankruptcy.
Right.
Good luck on getting any money.
Right. That's what was going to be my next question.
I was out, probably a good $60,000.
Did they at least pay for your lawyer fees?
No.
Oh, so you actually lost money in the deal then?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ah.
But at that age, I was 28, 29 years old, and to lose 60 grand.
Wow, that's a lot. What year was that?
I think the trial was in 93 or 94.
Okay, so that's
It's
about
it was a lot of
the
money.
houses costed around that, at least in Washington State at that time, you could buy a decent house for maybe $150,000 or two hundred
Yeah,
thousand
it
dollars.
would have been a good down payment on a house for me.
A sizable down
And
payment, yeah.
it was, but it was more of a psychological blow
Yeah.
that had this thing that I worked on for years by myself. You know, and I've been told that it was an act of audacity, actually, to make something so intricate and large.
Hmm.
Um, but, I mean, there were wins along the way. The poster hangs in the Smithsonian. Uh,
Oh, the poster, okay.
it certainly got me noticed when my brother and I decided to, like when I decided to pick up the pieces. My brother had just graduated from the same illustration curriculum at the same university, and he had done the TOS Enterprise poster.
Mm.
We found a guy in Grosse Pointe Park in a suburb of Detroit who was a lot more ethical.
Okay.
And we had probably the longest run of posters. We had Matt's TOS. I did a Deep Space Nine cutaway.
Hmm.
I did a Voyager cutaway.
Okay.
Matt did a Klingon Bird of Prey cutaway poster.
Hmm.
We did three
Wait,
stuff.
Klingon bird of play?
Absolutely, it's gorgeous.
Wage sack.
Yeah,
I thought it's the Romulan bird of prey.
no Klingon.
So the Klingon bird of prey is the one that looks sort of like a cross between a Romulan one and a Klingon ship.
It's the one that was used in Star Trek for the Voyage.
Right, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
Sort of
And,
hybrid.
yeah, and so we both did. We completed three Star Wars cutaways for Lucasfilm
Hmm.
in '96.
Did you
And
do Imperial Star Destroyer?
no, we did X-wing, being chased down the trench by Darth Vader and some TIE fighters.
Hmm.
That was Matt. I did the Millennium Falcon
Right.
and the AT-AT scene on Planet Hoth. They were quite amazing posters.
The AT-AT, so that's the small walkers?
No, that's the AT-ST. The AT-AT is the big four-legged ones.
Okay.
So we both have contributed cutaways to the Ships of the Line calendars that come out every year.
Okay.
Yeah, my last one was the NX-01 refit, which was supposed to be the Enterprise that we would have seen in season 5 of Enterprise had it gone on.
So do you have any association with Trek Yards?
But yeah, Stu is just down the road from me in London, Ontario here. So
Oh, cool.
yeah, I've seen him a couple of times. We actually did an interview with him, me and my brother. It was a two-parter because it was long. I mean, they really get into the technical part of starships on those on their interviews.
Okay, let me ask you a technical question.
Sure.
So the original Enterprise right here
Yeah.
has little turbine thingies in the nacelles, for in the Bussard collectors. So now how does that work with the motion picture one? There's obviously no turbines because it's not cylindrical. So how do they? I mean, how do they do the whatever?
That's absolutely not true. They're just covered up, and you don't get to see the fun and excitement underneath the cover. Try to imagine it being designed so that it has those vertical inlets, but you don't see all the what goes on underneath the cowl. It's almost as if they put a hood on top of the end of the engines.
But how can it spin? Because it's not cylindrical.
It is cylindrical actually on the inside. It's just smaller. It's a lot smaller.
Oh.
It's true.
Okay, that's good to know. Interesting. Okay, let's go a little bit in depth.
Yeah.
So what exactly do dilithium crystals do?
My impression of a dilithium crystal is that it's a substance that is hard enough. I mean, when you look at any crystal, if it's a piece of quartz or a diamond or whatever,
For example, this
right? Exactly. But we have seen those
rose
cuts.
quartz.
We have seen those cuts with facets in them, right? You have seen them where they're very faceted crystals,
Uh-huh.
and basically, they're so strong and tough that they can actually absorb the energy of matter and antimatter coming through them, and it helps focus and culminate that energy to go up into the warp nacelles,
Okay.
which powers the coils in the warp nacelle. Is kind of the the Enterprise is really just a bar of soap. I tell people this all the time. They don't really understand it. They think. Okay, so I got my little teeny tiny Enterprise D.
Okay.
It's got coils back here in the nacelle.
Right.
And if you had a bar of soap and it was wet in your hands and you pitched one end of it, the soap would propel itself forward.
Right.
Basically, they're doing that with magnetic coils in the nacelles.
To create a warp bubble.
Well, the warp bubble is what protects the ship as it goes faster than the speed of light, but the magnetic coils is the pinching of the soap, pushing it forward.
Mm.
Right? So actually the warp bubble was kind of like the in this is just my understanding of it. It's sort of like the eye of a hurricane. Inside the warp bubble, everything is
Dory.
still. It's just there, and the bubble is this thing that protects the ship as it goes faster than light.
Right.
Which we're still not there yet, but I believe we'll get there.
Our dear physicist friend Alcubierre figured it all out.
Yeah.
The only problem is it takes a gigantic amount of energy to do it.
It takes almost all the energy in the universe.
Right. But then they reworked it and figured out, I think, a way to use a tenth of that amount of energy, which is still a lot.
Well, it's still a lot. But you know what I love about Star Trek is, Gene and all those creative people in the 60s came up with these ideas. And slowly but surely, almost every single one of them are coming to fruition in some way. I mean, they're even beaming particles now, single particles, but they're able to beam particles now.
Entangled particles.
Yeah, it's incredible what they can do. Of course, we got our phones.
We got our cell phones. Yep.
Yeah, that's a communicator. We got things that act like tricorders.
Yep, we got that.
We got lasers that are almost as powerful as a phaser.
You're getting there.
This is a lot of Trek stuff.
We got microwaves. One step away from being a replicator.
Right? Opening doors, self-opening door. Right? They're not quite as cool, but they still, they're convenient. So yeah, that's what I love most about Trek is the fact that it's really engendered a lot of creativity in human beings to actually come up with the real deal.
The real thing, yeah.
The science is amazing.
Yeah.
I noticed you have a Orville.
Yeah, right there. This is the Orville. Technically, this is actually the Egotastica. If you
Okay.
look close enough, you'll see that change. I put a different
Okay.
decal on it.
Yeah, and I've been through your video, so I know what the reference means.
Oh, good. Oh, you've watched my show?
Some of them, yeah.
Oh, cool. I'm actually working on episode 5 right now.
Yeah.
It's taking me forever to get it done.
Yeah,
But
I saw you mention or talk about it with Samuel Cockings.
yeah, that's a recent interview.
Yes,
Also, I
I
should
went through it.
mention I just added a new thing to my props. Right here is a DVD set of Carl Sagan's original Cosmos,
Right.
which also came out at the same era as Star Trek: The Motion Picture.
Yeah, and
So,
I dare say I like it better than Neil deGrasse Tyson's.
right, because it's the original.
It's
Yeah.
the original. But I was going to say, did you order the Orville book that just came out from Dark Horse?
Um, Not the latest one. I do have in the other room I've got sort of the making of the Orville hardcover book. And I also speaking of the Orville, I did interview David Cabeza, who's the artist for the Orville comics.
Right.
Yep.
Well,
And
Andre Bormanis, I think I got that right. Andre Bormanis was the science advisor on Orville.
cool.
He was also the science advisor on Star Trek for a number of the shows.
Hmm.
He just came out with a all things Orville book, and
Cool.
if you buy the deluxe edition, it comes with a fold out cutaway poster of the Orville that my brother Matt did, and it just came out 2 months ago, 3 months ago.
Well,
So,
I've got some bragging rights.
oh, tell me.
Um, Not having to do with the Orville, but it did conjure up some other things. Um, I go to Star Trek Las Vegas, and I've sort of created this persona as the Star Trek cello guy because I bring a cello and I play it in the vendor room.
Okay.
And last year, um, I ended up playing the cello for David Ajala,
Oh, nice.
and he really liked it. So he was like, Matt, you can come over to my table anytime and play as long as you want. So I'll be over there for hours playing the cello with him right next to me, signing autographs and like having little side conversations with each other and stuff.
You know, I
So
saw him out in the streets once. I didn't walk up to him because I'm not that kind of guy.
yeah,
I'm not a I don't get fanish.
he's really nice. He's a real
Really
cool
nice
guy.
from what I
Yeah,
hear.
he's great.
I
And
wanted
he like would interact with the fans and really,
Yeah.
and also he's a trained Shakespearean actor,
Right.
and so he's already got another show. I forgot what it's called, but so he's doing
Anyway,
good.
he's
Yeah.
he spent a lot of time in Toronto. I mean, he directed so many episodes of Discovery and Strange New Worlds.
I didn't know he was directing. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
If I think it's the same guy we're talking about. I think he's a director. I don't think he was an actor in the show.
No, I'm talking about David Ajala. He played Book.
Oh, okay.
He was sort of like
Gonna-
he was sort of like
I'm
Discovery's version of Han Solo.
right. No,
Yeah, with the cat.
there's another Nigerian guy that directed a lot of. That's the guy I saw, the director. Um,
Okay, I
we,
wonder who that is.
we see. I think his first name is David. That's what kind of kicked me over.
Yeah, there's a lot of Davids.
Uh, anyways, he's always showing up in social media with the guy who played Riker.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
Jonathan Frakes.
Jonathan Frakes. They're both big directors of
Yeah.
Star Trek.
Yeah, those guys are
And
directors.
yeah, and uh, they just both do a really good. They both get it. You know, there's Star Trek that I watch the episodes and I kind of like. Okay, I there's things in it I didn't like, but the one thing that I can never say from any of those guys is, was it a badly directed episode? No, it's always like first rate in every instance. They're both great directors. Yeah.
Interesting stuff. Wow. So I know what you need to do.
What do I need to do?
You need to make a cutaway poster of the Orville.
I just told you, my brother Matt just did it. It's available if you order the book.
Oh.
Yeah. Go online and look up the I don't think they call it the Orville Technical Manual. I just think it's a big it's from Dark Horse Publishing. It's not cheap. I think it's, well, I'm looking at Canadian prices. It's always going to be more expensive. It's probably $60.
Okay, I have a new project for you then.
What's that?
How about a cutaway of the SpaceX Starship? The version of it that's going to Mars.
I think that will probably happen, actually. I just don't think that I'm going to do it until they get closer to the final product. Like I can almost do it before it comes out, but I want it to be closer. The one thing that people don't get or understand, you talk to Samuel about how he makes his videos.
Mm-hmm.
He expresses to you the amount of non-paid hours of work, and the simple fact is that these cutaway illustrations, I probably got 700 hours in my Enterprise D.
Mm-hmm.
When in my late 20s, when I was not going out and socializing with other human beings, I'd get home from my day job and start writing on that damn drawing. And I did it for like 2 or 3 years. Now, they don't all take that long, but they take a huge amount of time. So I try to hold off on doing them until all of the available information is out there.
Okay.
Because I don't want to rework it. I am a huge SpaceX fan.
As you should be.
And I try to, I show my dad the videos. My dad's 87. He's getting up there. And I said, Dad, I said, remember in the 50s when the sci-fi rockets used to land on their butts on the Earth? He goes, yeah.
On Bugs Bunny.
Yeah, on Bugs Bunny or any of those shows, and any of the early sci-fi movies, they always landed, and yet, NASA never went that route, and then here Elon comes and just does it, and it blows
right here.
Is that the Falcon?
Yep, Falcon 9.
Yeah, the Falcon 9. The fact that sucker can come down, and when they caught the Starship booster, the second to the last launch of Starship, I was just sitting there and I was just like, it just blew my mind. That section of the Starship booster itself is bigger in diameter and longer than the first 2 stages of a Saturn V.
Yeah, it's huge.
Huge. And it just nuanced itself right into those tongs and gently lowered itself in. Yeah. And I'm like, that's miraculous to me.
It is. One of my life goals is to spend a week on the moon. So I don't know if I'm going to make it to Mars, but I sure want to go to the moon.
You're younger than me, so it could happen.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll happen for me. I don't know if I want to go to the moon, though.
Really?
The older I get, the more I don't care about. If I go, it would be great. I wouldn't care about, if it was dangerous anymore, because I'm old and it didn't work out. Oh well, at least I tried, right?
Right.
But yeah, the moon is interesting. Do you watch For All Mankind?
I haven't. There's so many shows that I haven't watched because I'm so
Uh,
busy doing my own stuff. So, but I've seen little clips of it.
you
But
yeah, you have to watch it, man. It
okay,
is
For All Mankind.
probably,
Okay.
well, first of all, it's done by Ron Moore,
Oh,
and Ron Moore did Next Generation, and he also did
didn't you do Battlestar Galactica?
he did Battlestar
The new
Galactica,
one. Yeah.
the new one. So when he does this, I mean, they have really done all the research. The Akudas are there to make sure that everything that they're showing on the screen is accurate.
Hmm.
And it's an amazing show.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it. How many seasons are there now?
Three.
Wow.
We're
Okay, I gotta watch it.
about to go into the fourth season. Luckily, seasons now are only. When did seasons only become 10 episodes? That's what I want to know.
Yeah. I'm so far behind. Right now I'm in season 3 of Boston Legal.
Oh, that's a great show.
It is. So at least it's got William
Different
Shatner in it.
reasons.
It's got William Shatner and Renee Auberjonois. And also there were a couple episodes that had Armin Shimmerman, who played Quark. He was in
Yep.
it. I'm trying to think of what other Star Trek people were in it.
I like the other guy on that show, the one that is always the foil with Denny Crane.
Alan
Uh,
Shore.
Yeah,
Yeah, James Spader.
James Spader.
Yeah.
They're hilarious
They
together.
are actually. I consider him to be the star of the show, and Denny Crane to be kind of a sideshow. And then,
Yeah,
of course, then as the show develops, they start really exploring all the other characters and bringing in new people and stuff. So it's got me
right.
hooked. Yeah. Ooh, wow.
Yeah. So the best thing about all of this, it hasn't made me uber rich, but
Yeah, it
I've
doesn't matter.
I've gotten to meet everybody that I've ever wanted to meet.
That's cool.
I know all the people that worked in the Star Trek art department.
Wow. Okay.
They're all amazing people. I got to really know them during First Contact. Um, John Eves, Doug Drexler, Rick Sternbach, the Akudas.
Yeah, I met the Akudas on the Star Trek cruise last year.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Are those fun?
Yeah, it's a blast. It's the
Is
first
it?
one I ever went on, and I'm going again this year too.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And the cool thing is,
Which is better, the cruise or Vegas?
I do both.
But which is funner?
So, they're just so different. Um, the I guess it depends what you're into. Like, see, like when I go to Vegas, I spend almost all my time in the vendor room because my thing is I want to go and talk to as many of the actors as I can. And so I
Oh,
just go up to their
right,
table
right.
and hobnob with them and, you know, talk to them and try to get them to be guests on my podcast and stuff like that.
Right.
And yeah, and well, there's way more stuff happening in Vegas because there's like 5,000 people and there's all these different events and stuff like that. Whereas um, the thing about the ship, the cruise, is that if you burn out and you're just done with Star Trek, you can just go back. If you get a room that's got a balcony, you can just go back to your room, go sit out on your balcony and stare at the ocean for however long you want.
Well,
You
that's
know,
nice.
and just totally chill out, which is really nice.
Can you really get burned out on Star Trek though?
Some people can. Because it's going on all day long,
Yeah.
you know, and so
You
see certain people. It depends how much of an introvert you are. If you're a true introvert, you can only handle so much human contact before you got to go somewhere and recharge.
yeah, exactly.
So,
Exactly. The good thing that my brother went to Vegas this year. He was there with the Tomei folks that are doing the large Enterprise from the motion picture.
Oh,
die-cast model.
yeah. Okay, so my table was right next to them.
Right. So
So
you were like hanging out right next to my brother then,
yeah,
Matt. Matt,
yeah.
but Matt sends me this text, and I'm thinking that all of the stock from my original Next Generation poster was gone. It had been bought, and there's a dealer in the dealer room selling my posters, and so I got a hold of him, and so he has, the original Enterprise D posters,
Nice.
and he's got like a few thousand of them.
Oh, cool.
And I thought that I would never be able to buy them again. And I'm working out a deal with him where he's going to send me a whole bunch of posters. I'm going to autograph them and send them back,
There you go.
and then he's going to give me X amount of posters in trade. So I
Oh,
was I was super delighted to know that there, at least in a small sense, there was still some quantity of that poster that is in the world somewhere.
that's cool.
Yeah,
So you're in Ontario, right? You said.
I'm in Toronto, Ontario.
Uh, isn't the is it the Ticonderoga? Which one is it? There's like three TOS Star Trek sets now.
Yeah, Ticonderoga is in New York State, just across on the other side of the just on the other side of Lake Ontario.
Have you been there?
No, haven't
You should
been.
check it out. So their version of the engine room is the real one where it's got a sloped roof indicating that it's in the secondary hall.
Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
they had done a video about what it took for them to make that roof, like to replicate that roof. The
yeah,
thing I love about the Ticonderoga folks, their intensity in getting everything bang on, like down to the detailed level, is
yeah,
just is admirable.
yeah,
You know, there are Star Trek sets, and then there are those guys.
yeah,
They're just that James Crawley is just nuts about getting the details right.
yeah.
You know, and uh, we spend a lot of time on our cutaway posters with the same thing in mind. There's no sense in doing a big project like that if you're not going to bring a certain level of perfection to it.
Right.
Because I got to tell you, if you make a mistake on a cutaway poster,
Fans are
don't
going to tell you, but let you know.
think that the fans won't come up to you and say, "Hey, what about, we have little circles with numbers that correlate to a list of what that thing is supposed to be," and they'll go, "What's 22 about? Why is it
Right.
listed as X?" And it turns out like the first 5,000 or 10,000 of the posters printed had a typo in it. It was caught. It was caught before it got too far in, but you
Yeah.
know, I got people who got that poster. We still sold them. I got people that got that poster, and man, every couple of months I get some guy says, "Hey, what about number 22?" And I'm like, "Ugh."
Yeah. Okay, let me ask you a question. So I get a bit annoyed sometimes when I see this Starship Enterprise because I think that the nacelles, the turbines and nacelles should be counter rotating. So like one of them should be clockwise and the other should be counterclockwise. They cancel out. But I do notice sometimes they aren't, and I'm like, well, that's
Well,
not right.
you mean in the original TOS series?
Yeah, or like also okay, where's uh I think in Trials and Tribulations there's some shots of the Enterprise. You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah. The Deep Space Nine episode.
Where they're not counter rotating either.
I never really noticed that. I'm gonna say, as far as TOS is concerned, man, that was the mid 1960s, and the fact that something out of that caused us to care about the details afterwards. I mean, the blueprints didn't come out until 1975, you know, and even those are carefully done to, you know, that's not the Enterprise in those blueprints. I keep reminding people that, you know, they keep saying the Enterprise has a bowling alley on it, and I keep telling them, no, the Enterprise doesn't have a bowling alley on it, but the USS Constitution does, which is what is on the blueprints. It's
Oh, good
1700,
point.
right?
Good point. Oh,
And
good
and I'm
point.
not, and I'm one fan who is not going to take the word of a highly inebriated Kevin Riley to convince me that the Enterprise has a bowling alley on it. You know, I just doesn't even really make sense that that sport lasts another 300 freaking years. But who knows? Maybe, you know, or a pool. I never thought it's supposed to have a pool.
Well, what about the gardens?
The gardens I get because the gardens are fixed, they're solid, you know. But what if you're on the Enterprise and you're in the pool and all of a sudden they break right at warp 9, and doesn't the water just slosh?
Um, well, okay, but you know about inertial dampeners, right?
I do, but are they really sophisticated enough for hundreds of thousands of gallons of water in an Olympic-sized swimming pool?
Well, yeah, they would just have special upgraded ones for the pool.
Yeah. I'm actually, you know, when Rick Sternbach did his own Enterprise D blueprints uh, back in the mid '90s, and I'm actually,
Actually, you're correct because we have plenty of evidence which shows there's times where we're getting jostled around on the bridge. We take a hit, or you're right. There's actually where there's times when you have
people
to
flying out of
everyone
their
has
chair.
to lean to the right or the left. So when that happens, water's going to be jostling.
Okay, so
Yeah.
let me start a controversy for your show.
Okay.
Are you? Do you believe that the bridge is offset by 37 degrees?
Uh-oh.
Do you even know about that controversy?
Well, now you just reminded me because in those blueprints it says it is. But let's look here. Well, here's an easy way to deal with it, especially for the latest generation of people. I remember when I first saw Star Wars, it really bugged me that the Millennium Falcon had the cockpit on the side, not in the middle. But I
Yeah,
eventually got used to that asymmetry, so if I can deal with that, I can easily deal with the bridge being offset by 30 degrees.
but why? But why would? So, are you telling me that the bridge has a separate inertia dampener that reacts to the people sitting in their seats being thrown right and left than the deck just below it, which has got a center line going forward?
Hmm.
You
Oh
know,
yeah,
to
that does
me,
cause a bit of a problem, doesn't it?
you know,
Okay, I
the
know an
fact
easy way. There's an easy solution to this.
was that.
Um, you just go back and watch where No Man Has Gone Before, where they actually show the people inside the bridge, and we can freeze frame it and see whether the bridge is offset by 30 degrees or not.
Yeah, maybe. I just, you know, to me, it comes up on Facebook every once in a while, and there are people who are super passionate on both sides of the argument. And there are people who build, you know, those polar lights, 350 scale models of the Enterprise,
Okay.
and they put a little bridge up in the up on the top of their ship, and they put some of them put it straight forward, some of them put it at an angle, and I just, you know, you can do whatever you want. You know, I come on and I give my opinion. I think it's straightforward. I just think it is. You know, what other craft ever conceived in the minds of man has ever had a command and control center that was 37 degrees off from every other part of the ship?
Okay, so why did some anybody do that? Why did they throw a wrench into our aesthetics by even suggesting such a thing?
Great question, and there's a really good answer for it. When the model first came out, when the Starship first came out, the first of all, they built the bridge first. And they originally built it so that the elevator, the turbo shaft,
Turbo lift, yeah.
the turbo lift was right behind Kirk in the center. And the director of photography said, that's not going to work. I can't get a good angle on all the people on the bridge if I have to have that turbo shaft directly in the back. So then Matt Jeffries moved it over a station. Just
Okay.
literally a station.
Right.
But at the same time, they were building the scale models of the ship, and they just put the turbo shaft in the center.
Oh yeah, I can see it even on this right there. There it is.
Right, it's in the center. So people, it's literally all about the fast-paced production schedule of TV, and the at the time people not really caring that anybody would ever see it to that
Notice.
level of detail. But now that the model is like the most vaunted thing in the Smithsonian, which it should be.
Have you seen it?
Oh yes.
I haven't
Oh
yet. That's another thing I gotta do.
It's kind of the mecca of Star Trek.
You know what I wish somebody would do?
Hmm.
I wish somebody would set up a green screen right there and shoot some more footage of that ship.
That would be cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It wouldn't be that hard.
I don't think so.
Like I also had an idea, like nowadays you could do it with drones. You wouldn't even have to set up tracks and all that. You could just get a really good drone and get track shots of the drone.
You just have to get it out of its glass case. That's the only thing, right?
Right.
Yeah. I don't know why they didn't do that. They could have done it and taken advantage of it. It's certainly.
Well, they still can. I mean, it wouldn't be that expensive. Just like rent it for a weekend or something, or you know,
Smithsonian?
you make up. You could get like some VFX guy from some show that's a Trekkie
Yeah.
could organize a Kickstarter to raise enough money to pay the Smithsonian, $10,000 to be able to rent the room for a day or two to shoot some footage. That's
Right.
totally doable.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to do it.
Okay, let me ask you this. What is your Trek?
My Trek is still TOS.
It's still TOS?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you need to talk to you need to have my brother come on your show because he has done a new version of his Enterprise from TOS, and it's literally it's big enough. It's drawn big enough. It can be printed out to be 11 feet long.
Oh, cool.
So it's as big as the model. The level of detail. You can see pens, and you remember the computer cards, the little yellow computer cards.
Mm-hmm.
You can see stacks of computer cards on the tables.
Cool.
Every button on every console, no matter where it is on the ship, is exactly the way it was on the set. The amount of detail, and after we're done, I'll send you a picture.
Is this 3D model? Like can you walk through it and stuff, or what is it?
You can't walk through it, but it's probably the most definitive cutaway of the Enterprise ever created.
Cool.
It takes hours and hours and hours to go through it, and it explains how the warp core works on the TOS, which was never, we knew where the dilithium crystals were in that
Mm-hmm.
thing in the middle of the room,
Mm-hmm.
but is the warp core that we're used to seeing, is that below that? It explains everything.
Cool.
It's my brother is even more of a wizard than I am on some things. He really is. He's perfected that TOS Enterprise to a degree that is just. Rod Roddenberry has a full-size copy of it on the back wall of his office. If you ever see a picture of Roddenberry and there's an Enterprise cutaway behind him, that's my brother's drawing. He's the only he's the only one in the world that has a copy of it hanging in public.
How many copies are there?
Not very many, because Matt's still waiting to get the rights to sell it as a poster.
Interesting.
As a poster, he wants to do a book with Gary Kerr on the original Enterprise. He's been working on it for years, but Star Trek licensing is very different these days. You know,
Right, 'cause it went through so many different ownerships.
yeah, they don't sell shit models anymore. They're more into plushy toys and bobbleheads.
Well, see, somehow Hallmark got the license to do this stuff.
Yeah,
Like, this is a Hallmark Star Trek Enterprise. This
yeah.
right here, and then here's like all the little figurines. It's hard to
I
see,
like
but they're back there.
I like the one with the hand.
Oh yeah, yep.
That's hot.
That's also Hallmark.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, those are cool. What is that etched thing in front that's glowing blue?
Um, that's yeah. Okay, where did I get that? Somebody gave it to me, but it's a um. You're talking about this holographic looking thing. This
Yeah, yeah,
it's a TOS. But yeah, where did I get it? I don't know where I got it.
it's pretty neat.
Yeah, I like it. It's what else have I got? I got all kinds of stuff. This actually, I have. Okay, it's hard to see, but this is Captain Pike in his wheelchair,
Right?
and this is personally signed by Sean Kenny, who is the actor that played Captain Pike.
Oh, okay.
He's a friend of mine, actually. He's still alive. He and his wife live in Vegas now. He's like 82 or 83 years old, but he's really well preserved because he still looks and acts like he's about 65.
Wow.
And in fact, he is a guest star in episode 5 of my show, and he plays Captain Pike.
Oh,
I got to
nice.
get that thing done. I'm just totally procrastinating.
Captain Pike in a chair or Captain Pike in for real?
Well, what we do, okay, this is secret information.
Okay.
He starts out in the show in the chair,
Oh,
but we return to the Matrix, and the reason why he goes to the Matrix is because since he lived on Talos 4 in that illusory world, that gave him some special powers so that when he goes into the Matrix, he has special powers, and that's why we asked him to come with us. Because
oh,
we have to go back
okay.
to the Matrix to rescue Captain Powell, who's still trapped there because he was afraid to get transported out. I don't know
Oh,
if you've
okay.
watched episode 4 or not.
I haven't seen. I have only watched one episode. I think it was.
Oh, you've watched the first one. Okay,
Yeah.
so the the show is it's learned by doing, so it gets better as
Okay.
the episodes progress. But then I still go back and watch episode 1. I'm like, you know what? This is actually pretty damn good.
You know,
You know, as long as you can get into the stream of consciousness and the total
yeah,
surreal take on it that I do.
you know what? Like
Yeah.
people complain all the time. Like newer Trek fans complain all the time that TOS just looks so dated and whatever. And I look at them and I said, okay, it's about the story being told, not about what you're looking at.
Right.
That what you're looking at is the frosting on the cake. If the cake isn't worth eating, you don't need the frosting.
Right.
It's not a bang up story, which TOS, I mean, yeah, TOS had some questionable stories for sure. Spock's brain, although I still
Mhm.
like that for some reason. It's like it's about the story. It's about the character development.
Mhm.
It's about the conundrum of the week. It's
Right.
about is that believable? Is our and ultimately it's also about does it make me feel better about the future or not, which is important to me.
Also, the thing you have to also acknowledge is that people like you and I, we watched it when we were kids, so it's completely connected to our initial emotional and psychic development in
Right.
our childhood. So we have it
Agreed.
means a lot to us because of that.
Agreed.
Because I was in 3rd grade when I first started watching Star Trek.
So what year was that?
It was already in reruns, so this was like 1974. Actually, to tell you the truth, my parents watched it I think when it first came out, and I remember seeing little bits of it, but I was too young to understand what was going on. Except
Yeah.
I remember getting extremely scared when I saw that egghead alien from, from the that really early episode with the giant orb ship, and it was fake. It was just a little.
No,
The alien actually looked like a little kid, and he's like, "Here, you have some tranya."
you know, I was old enough because I watched the originals the night that they came out. So I sat
Oh,
with my dad and I was able to watch it first run.
oh, cool.
And I had just seen him on another show, and I'm like,
Outer Limits.
Dad,
Yeah,
or, yeah, it was probably an Outer Limits
because
or whatever.
they borrowed that prop from Outer Limits.
And I said, I looked at my dad and I said, Dad, that's Clint Howard. That's not an alien. That's Clint Howard. And my dad was like, probably the first time I was 6 or 7 or maybe 8 years old, and my dad just looked at me and said, "It's just a show, kid. It's just a show." But yeah,
Speaking of shows, man, I remember some of those Outer Limits shows. To me as a kid, were absolutely terrifying.
uh,
Yeah,
Outer Limits
yeah,
or
Outer
Twilight
Limits,
Zone. What about
Twilight Zone too, and Outer Limits.
Yeah, I love the guy who did Twilight Zone.
Rod Serling.
Rod Serling just really the doing the intros for every episode,
Mm-hmm.
intros and outros, that totally glued me in. I mean, he just had the voice, you know.
Plus, the amazing thing about that show
Yeah,
is every week it's a completely new set of actors and sets.
right.
So,
You wonder how they did all that.
yeah,
Like, what the budget for that show must have been
yeah.
incredibly.
I mean,
Yeah,
they did it on. I think it was the Warner Brothers lot. I think. So they had these pre-built sets that were used in all kinds of different movies. But still, I mean, to have to recruit, to figure it all out, and then get all the actors every single week, basically a whole new show,
right.
was still a huge undertaking.
Yeah, I remember Shatner being in one of those episodes too.
He was in two of them, at least two,
Yeah,
because he was in the one with the airplane up, and he keeps seeing the ape guy in the wing,
right.
and he was another one where I think he was an angel of death. I get that mixed up with the one that's got Robert Redford in it, but I do know that William Shatner was in two of them.
That was the other thing about those shows. They had people in their casts that ended up being like huge actors in Hollywood. You
Mm-hmm.
know, it was almost like they came in and they would still do guest roles. Spencer Tracy was in a Twilight Zone episode,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, really big name actors would be in those shows, and really brought a lot of gravitas, I think.
Speaking of that, circling back to Boston Legal,
Yeah,
did you see the episode they did where they found some footage of a really young William Shatner playing a lawyer talking to his dad, a old black and white lawyer show, and they built a Boston Legal episode around it, and they would flash back to him back in the day. It was really cool
oh,
how they
that's
did it.
pretty neat.
Yeah.
And I'm just now I'm listening to there's another author, Star Trek author. His name is Mark Cushman.
Okay.
He wrote the definitive guides for season 1, 2, and 3. The season 1 guide is on audible.com.
Okay.
And I one of my tricks to be able to multitask is I don't actually read books anymore. I listen to them if I
Yeah.
can. And so I can listen to a book while I'm drawing or doing whatever, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that William Shatner role as the lawyer was also a Gene Roddenberry show.
Oh.
Gene Roddenberry did a courtroom procedural that had William Shatner in it.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that.
Me neither. I just learned it this week.
Oh, cool.
It turns out that Gene Roddenberry was super prolific in writing all kinds of TV shows before Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
The Lieutenant,
Right.
which I remember as being like a G.I. Joe movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there were just all kinds of shows that he did. Cop shows, cop procedurals, he wrote for, and yeah, I actually got to meet Gene Roddenberry once.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, my dad took me to this old theater in Royal Oak, Michigan, which is a suburb of Detroit, and Gene was going around and showing the Cage,
Oh, cool.
right?
Right.
And he would give a talk, and then he would show the Cage, and then he mixed and mingled with all the people that came in the lobby after the show. It was really cool. Big man,
Wow.
like a huge human being. He's like
Hmm.
really large,
Hmm.
you know. I think when they started calling him the Great Bird of the Galaxy, they were actually referring to his physical size. He was just a big guy.
Huh.
And,
Interesting.
yeah, but yeah, so you know,
I told you I lived in Ann Arbor for a while, right?
oh no, you didn't. No, that's
Yeah, I
great.
did. Till I was about 8 years old. So right before I started watching Star Trek as a kid, I lived in
Okay.
Ann Arbor, yeah.
Why were you guys in Ann Arbor? Is your parents there, or
Yeah, my parents, well, my mom grew up in Saginaw. My dad grew up in Frankenmuth. And then they both went to the U of M, University of
Christmas
Michigan.
Christmas 365 days of the year?
Okay, even better. Okay, so you're talking about Brunner's, right?
Yeah,
So Brunner's, guys, is like this giant Christmas store that's like Disneyland. It's huge.
it is.
And but get this, my Aunt Doris was an original employee of Brunner's when it was like a tiny little one-room shop. And then she became the lead salesperson who would go to Germany and work with all the different artists and stuff and buy ornaments and stuff and ask them to make custom stuff. So she totally
Yeah,
knows everything about Brunner's. She's
we
still
we
alive too. She's in her 90s.
we would go once a year for two things. So my parents are really big on Christmas.
Okay.
That's their thing, or at least it was. My mom's passed away since, but um, so Christmas was their thing. So they bought Christmas ornaments like all the time. It was the
Right.
thing that they collected. But we also went because they had the best, I guess, turkey or chicken dinners.
Yeah, there's food. There's a restaurant in there.
Yeah,
Runners, guys, runners. It's so easy to go in there and blow $500 so fast.
the
I mean,
cheapest
you can
thing in
spend any
there
amount
was
of
the
money
meal.
in there if you got a credit card. Watch out.
Yeah, the cheapest thing in there was the meal.
Yeah.
So we would go all the time, and Ann Arbor is just an amazing city in and of
Hmm.
itself. I mean, it's so aptly named.
Hmm.
It's all about the trees in Ann Arbor.
Hmm.
It is really just the most treed city I have ever been to,
Yeah.
and I love U of M.
Hmm.
I love it mostly when they beat the hell out of Ohio State.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and we could go there, and it was just far enough outside of Detroit where you didn't feel like you were still in and around Detroit.
Hmm.
My family lives in Grand Rapids now, so they're on the west side of Michigan.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, yeah,
Fun.
yeah. And here I am in the big city of Toronto, where they make Star Trek.
Well, funny thing also, my cello teacher now lives in Toronto, and
Oh yeah,
I do all my lessons over Zoom.
in
So I
Toronto.
got that connecting. I got that connection too.
Wow, have you ever been to Toronto?
No.
Oh, you should come. I wish that they did set tours. I wish that they did set tours. I keep trying to get in on a set tour, and I never
Are you
can.
talking of like The Expanse or something like that?
No, I'm talking Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
Like
Oh,
just
Strange New Worlds?
every. Well, wait. every season of Discovery was filmed in Toronto.
Oh,
Every season of Strange New Worlds is filmed in Toronto.
okay.
Starfleet Academy is being filmed in Toronto as we speak.
Ooh.
Like all Section 31 movie that's about to come out in the month was filmed here in Toronto. Yeah, it's all at the Pinewood Studios in Toronto. They haven't.
Okay, so speaking of Discovery, I assume they've torn down the sets now, right?
Yeah.
And then are they using the same sound stage for what some other show or
Yeah.
some other Star Trek show or?
Yeah. In fact, the soundstage is called. I think it's called the Star Trek Soundstage.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, they've actually christened it like something in and around Star Trek. And have you ever been on
And
stage?
they had one of those surround Panavision things, right?
You mean like you mean like the big TV screens that they use in Star Wars?
Yeah, instead of green screens, now they just project it everywhere.
Yeah, all the shows do that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, they all do that. Yeah, it's just cheaper in the long run.
yeah. Plus, it's easier for the actors to figure out what the heck's going on.
Right, right. Have you ever been on a Star Trek set?
Have I?
Well, you've been to
No.
Ticonderoga, right?
No, I haven't. But I did. I did a show here, and I had the guy hold his phone and take me all around.
Oh, okay, that's cool.
And but in Seattle, there was a Star Trek exhibit where they brought some of the original sets to Seattle, so I got to see like the original consoles from the bridge and stuff like that.
Yeah, you know
So
what's his name bought them? Steve Ballmer.
yeah,
He bought all the Star Trek stuff, and now since he's died, his wife is selling it all now, and it's all going out to the world. Like people are now buying all the models and all the set pieces and that those Star Trek sets have just recently been auctioned off again.
that's cool.
Yeah, the fact that they're still around just blows my mind. There was a traveling show that I got to see. It was in Dearborn in 2019 at the Henry Ford Museum, and it had all of those set pieces and all of the models. I got to stand next to the 6-foot model of the Enterprise D, Deep Space Nine. All of those models were there.
Speaking of that, did you see the MythBusters guy? What's his name? Darn it!
Adam Savage.
Did you see the episode he did where he built a captain's chair?
Yeah, more
That's a good one.
complicated than I thought it would be too.
Yeah.
Would you want one?
I had a friend who was going to build one for me, and but it never quite happened. So I have to. But what I did was I fake it. Like in my show, what I did was I found the footage of Adam Sandler's show, and there was in there he messed around with the chair and rotated it around and stuff. So
Okay.
I took that footage, and then I worked it to be able to put, using green screens and stuff, I put my characters in the chair and moved it.
Wow.
And I did it well enough so that it looks real. You wouldn't know that I faked it.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't know if I would. At one point, I probably would have wanted one. I'm getting old enough right now where I'm actually trying to give stuff away.
Mhm.
You get it into that stage where you want to divest yourself of stuff. But at one point in time, I really wanted that chair. I'm gonna go to Ticonderoga within the next couple of years.
There you go.
Just to say that I went and
sit in that chair.
But the one thing I was going to tell you, back in '97, early '97, like literally January or February, there's a big Star Trek convention in Pasadena, California. I think it used to be called Grand Slam.
Okay.
And so we were going out there because we were going to sell the new Enterprise E poster that Matt and I had drawn together. And we got out there a couple days early, and Doug Drexler and John Eves had us come to the Star Trek art department at Paramount. and they took us on just those two guys, and me and my brother Matt took us on private tours of the Deep Space Nine sets
Okay.
and the Voyager sets. Okay. And, we're going through the sets, and it's awe-inspiring. You get to see these things for real in real life, but there's something in the back of your head that just is gnawing away at you, and you don't know what it is. You don't know what it is. And we finally get to the bridge of Voyager, and we're standing there, and the effect is intense in that one particular place. And you're like, what is going on here? It's like something's not right. And the guys, Doug and Johnny's, kind of sussed out that we had this look on our face, right? They built all of those sets. They're 5/6 scale. They're not one. They're not 1-to-1. They're 1/6 smaller than they would be in real life.
To make the actors look bigger?
I think I think that's part of the equation. I think, though, that it's the wide angle lenses on the camera. If they make the sets full scale, they would look super expansive. So they combat that by making all of the sets just infinitesimally smaller.
So you can get more of it on the TV screen too.
But when you're there in real life, you're kind of like, it's there, but you don't know it's there until someone tells you what's happening. But you're looking at it and you're like, this is not what it kind of looks like on TV. Well, no, on TV, everybody gains 50 pounds or 10 pounds. Well, yeah, the sets would also gain 10 pounds. So they make them smaller.
That's interesting. Now, who would have thought of that?
Who would have thought of that? Deep Space Nine promenade set. Oh my God. Full ceiling, full walls, full floor. You walk into that set, they close any outside door, turn the lights on, and you're on Deep Space Nine. It's 100% immersive.
Ooh, wow. So how do they do the lighting though? If the ceiling's closed.
But there's lights in the ceiling.
Okay.
So they have they're able to light it in just everyday lighting. I'm sure that they add lights when they're filming.
Okay.
But when it's just the set, there's just regular everyday lighting in the ceiling.
Interesting.
I mean, if you look at the ceiling on the promenade on Deep Space Nine, you can see the lights in the ceiling.
Okay.
There are lights up there. They're not the lights that probably light the scene, but there are lights up there. So just when you're just there and doing a set tour,
interesting.
We went into Quark's, went on to the Command Ops Center at Deep Space Nine, and it's just amazing.
Speaking of Quark, there's another name drop. So Armin Shimmerman, who plays Quark, is really into Shakespeare.
Yeah.
And so, like, one of the things he did on the Star Trek cruise that I was on is he gave a Shakespeare workshop on his version of how you should perform Shakespeare, and I got to be his guinea pig. So I get to stand up there and do some lines from Romeo and Juliet, and then he would critique me, and we go back and forth and so on.
How'd you do?
Good. Actually, people cheered
nice.
at how good it was by the time he was done coaching me.
Wow.
So yeah, and then people came up to me afterwards for the rest of the tour and said, "Man, you were awesome. That was so good how you did that Romeo."
Yeah.
It was the famous scene where Romeo's looking up at Juliet, in her bedroom window.
Okay.
And so on.
He's a very stand-up guy.
Yeah.
And just like down to earth. I think that term is sometimes overused, but he's really down to earth.
Yep.
Matt and I went to what year was it? It had to have been 96, I think. they had the 30th anniversary party down at the Manned Spaceflight Center in Huntsville, Alabama. NASA actually hosted the big 30th anniversary party for Star Trek.
Interesting.
And we went down there, and it was part convention, it was a lot of things that weekend. But we sold posters on the floor, and people would come up and they would buy the posters, and we would sign them. And Matt and I saw Aaron Shimmerman, the guy Ethan Phillips who plays Neelix, and Renee Auberjonois,
who plays Odo,
walking down the aisle.
Cool.
And I immediately signed 3 Deep Space Nine posters and ran out into the middle of the aisle with my brother, only to be tackled by these 3 giant human being guards. Security guards that were walking with the guys that we didn't even bother to notice. And we just kept saying, hey, we have a table over there and we want to give these posters to, and the three actors turned around and they were like, let them give us the posters. Like, you don't have to jump on everybody that comes near us, they were such cool individuals.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah.
So
many stories. So you got to go to Star Trek Las Vegas then.
Yeah, Matt, that's what my brother Matt says.
You should do it.
He said it was amazing. It was amazing. I need to do it like flights are cheap out of Toronto for Las Vegas.
Yeah, you should just do it.
My problem is that it'd be like Bronner's. I would go to it and I'd need to have $1,000 in my pocket. Yeah. Because I just couldn't, I'm not going to be a guy to stand in line to have my picture taken or an autograph. That interests me zero.
Okay, so the way to do it again is to go to the vendor room, because in there, see, like the really A-list Star Trek actors have a special room where they sign autographs, and you got to stand in line for an hour. But if you go in the vendor room, all the next level actors, they have their own tables in there, and a lot of times there aren't lines, or the lines are super short, and you can just go right up, and then you can talk to them, and it's just it's just a cool marketplace type of vibe in there.
Right. Anybody that you saw there that I would know, like
oh, tons of people. Like for example, okay, so David Ajala, who plays Book.
Right.
Okay, so and then right next to him, Doug Jones plays Saru. They're signing autographs. I played cello for him.
Absolutely.
And then like Anson Mount was in there, and
but Anson Mount is a first-rate character. Was a first-rate actor though, right?
Yeah, but he was in the vendor room. Of course, when he was in there, the lines would get really long.
Right.
But still, I mean, sometimes he would come around and hobnob and just talk to people. And also Ethan Pack, who's the new Spock.
Yeah.
He let me play for him because turns out he played cello in high school.
Yeah.
So I sat next to him and played cello for him for a while. And then Robert Picardo, the hologram.
Yeah,
a lot of these people hang out in the vendor room.
Yeah, he's in Toronto right now filming the Starfleet Academy. He's going to be in that show.
Yeah.
Hey,
J.G. Hertzler.
Oh yeah,
he's a great guy.
Is he?
He's a total card.
He's
Garrett Wang.
He's super opinionated though.
J.G. Hertzler.
Yeah.
Well, he's just kind of crazy. So he just says all kinds of shit. You just get him going. Yeah, and he'll say anything.
Yeah, he says whatever comes to the top of his mind.
Well, he's hit the age that you are approaching where you don't give a shit anymore. You just say your opinion, and whether people like it, they can take it or leave it.
Yeah, exactly.
He's had enough life experience where now you're just like, well, this is my version
Yeah,
of the
I
truth.
think I'm there. I think I'm there, but his portrayal of Martok is like amazing. So
Yeah,
yeah, um, that sounds cool. Yeah, I should go. I
I think
should.
you'd really dig it. Yeah.
Do you dress up when you go?
Yeah. Um, so I have a really good TOS jersey that I wear, and I have a really good pair of boots. The boots are what make the TOS costume. If you got good boots, then you're there.
Okay.
And the trick is for the pants, all you have to do is um, get a pair of black jeans and then roll them up so that the blouse, and you've got a good pair of boots, it looks great.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
cool.
And but
I've
I
got,
had my jersey custom made for like $90. So it's a nice velour one. It's really comfortable too.
and it fits really good.
Mm-hmm. Because it was I
Yeah.
gave him my dimensions.
Yeah, I have a
And
Picard. I have a Picard suede leather jacket.
oh, there you go. Here, actually, I'll show you my boots. Hold on, real fast.
Oh wow, those look great. Those are bang on.
And they're leather. I just spotted them on eBay randomly, and I totally lucked out. And it didn't even say Star Trek boots. It just said, leather boots from Mexico. And I'm like, those are perfect, and they
They are.
fit. So I just got them. They were like $50.
They are.
Yeah, that just happened.
You lose a earphone. Yeah.
Yeah, and they're really comfortable.
Wow. How much?
50. They're
That's
real leather. I actually already replaced the heels once now. But yeah.
and they zip on the side.
Hmm.
Nice.
They're perfect.
Sweet.
So,
Yeah. That's why I like Adam Savage. He goes to all those conventions and he dresses up in different costumes every time.
did you see the episode of The Expanse that he was in?
I didn't know he was in The Expanse.
He was in the episode. It's if you're not really sharp, you won't notice because he's not wearing his glasses, so he looks way different. But he's in the episode where they're in that ship that's crash landing on Venus.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
I'd have to go back and look at it. They did make The Expanse in Toronto, by the way. I'm just remembering that now.
Yeah.
Because I had a lot of friends who did. They had various walk-on roles or one-liner roles. One or two lines in the show. They were just background people.
Speaking of The Expanse, the other guy sitting next to David Ajala in the vendor room. Shoot, he's got a Greek name. Oh shoot, I can't remember his name. Anyway, he was in The Expanse. He was I think in 3 episodes. And anyway, he also was a guest star on uh I think it was Star Trek Discovery. So
Oh wow!
I was in the vendor room with him too.
Now that's on my list. I want to do a cutaway of the Rocinante.
Oh, cool, yeah.
Yeah. Like I do other stuff. I've got the definitive Battlestar Galactica from 2004. I'm working on. It's taking forever because it's such a big ship.
I'm glad that you call it the Rocinante. Because it
Why?
kind of bugged me in the show when they kept calling it the Rossi. I'm like, no, it's
Oh,
Rocinante, not Rocinante.
yeah.
Rocinante.
Well, didn't they
But
just call it the Rossi for short as well?
yeah, but I mean, but when you call it the Rossi, they should have called it the Rossi, not the Rossi.
I just finished.
Uh,
I just finished the Ranger from Interstellar.
oh, cool.
Yeah.
3D printed.
Uh, no, this is a off the shelf model kit.
Oh, okay.
But I did a cutaway. I did a cutaway of this.
Fun.
Yeah, I have a. It's kind of covered up in Christmas tinsel. Can I spin? Hold on. This is underneath all this tinsel is the space pod from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Oh, cool.
You can hardly see it.
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
So I've done a cutaway of that. Any major ship from the show, I will do I know they want me to do one of the Enterprise G from Picard season 3.
All right, I know a project that'll keep you busy. Do a
Yeah,
cutaway at the Death Star.
I would, but my friend who did one of the books, the Star Wars cutaway books,
Yeah.
already did it. It's already
Okay,
been.
I have to question then. How big is the Death Star actually?
It's big.
Like, is it 100 miles across or a mile across? I used to think it was as big as a planet, but then now in my adulthood, I'm like, it can't have been that big.
I think it's in my mind's eye, I think it's about half the size of Earth's moon.
Okay, that's still awfully big.
It's still awfully big. It's big though.
Okay.
It's unrealistically big.
Okay, so that's thousands of miles in diameter then.
Well, yeah, moon's not really that big though, eh? Not
Isn't it
not,
like
not
2,000 miles in diameter, our moon?
yeah, something like that. So
Okay, so you're saying 1,000 miles, but that's still awfully.
yeah, yeah. I'm just thinking though, when they're going down the trench, it looks pretty flat. Like the horizon isn't that the curvature of
Right.
the horizon isn't that great. So
Okay, so that's how you'd figure it out.
still pretty big. And the way they did the cutaway was interesting because it kind of really shows that there's a lot of hollow parts to it. It's not like a solid ball.
Okay.
It is spherical.
Okay.
You know, I just want to know how they're able to build it so fast. Like, even if they put everything towards it, like, how are they able to build something that quickly, that size?
Nanobots.
Maybe. Yeah, bots for sure, though.
Yeah.
Like robots for sure. But Star Wars is not meant to be. I never.
Or maybe they farmed it out where like they had like 1,000 star systems that were all building it, and then they would just ship the parts to where it's supposed to be, and they would assemble it real quick.
Oh yeah, I mean you see that in the what's that Star Wars series on Disney?
Oh, the prison one.
Yeah, where they're in the prison making they're making Death Star parts.
Yeah.
You know, and
What that was called Andor, right, or something like that.
Andor, yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was glad to that. Oh, so this lady who decided not to pay me my royalties on the Enterprise D was taking the profits from the poster, and she had engaged another artist. I had already started a Millennium Falcon cutaway.
Okay.
That was supposed to be our next project. And unbeknownst to me, she had engaged another artist to do the Millennium Falcon. Right? And this is before any of the books that came out. Whoever was going to get this Millennium Falcon poster done was going to be the first to do a cutaway of a Star Wars ship in poster form or in any form. And my lawsuit forced her out of business. It collapsed her deal with Lucasfilm to do, and the Falcon drawing had been finished and was just about to go to print, and it caused her to collapse her deal with Lucas.
Okay.
And then 2 years later, my Millennium Falcon came out. So there was a silver lining to that of a sort.
Okay.
So I was able to get my Millennium Falcon poster done.
Okay.
You're in Washington State?
Yeah.
Seattle?
I tell everybody that I live in Seattle, but actually, in reality, I live in a city that's north of Seattle called Linwood. But nobody knows what that is, so I just always say Seattle.
How far are you from Boeing?
From Boeing?
Yeah.
It's just up the street a few miles.
Yeah, my first cutaway was a 747 when I was in high school.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
Back when you were a kid in high school and you could write a big company and say, "Hey, I'd like to do a cutaway of a 747. Can you send me drawings?"
oh,
And
cool.
they sent me a whole package of drawings over the summer, and that's what my project was for the whole school year.
I did a thing where my dad encouraged me to write a letter to JPL when the Viking landers landed on Mars.
Yeah.
And they sent me a few months later a giant packet of all kinds of stuff. It was cool. And I didn't send them any money.
Yeah,
They just sent it all for free.
they had a budget for that because it was tax dollars paying for their livelihood, and they had to return some level of response to people who wrote them. I remember being a little kid and getting brochures every 2 or 3 months about Mercury and Gemini and Apollo, and
Yeah, that's also cool.
it is. It was so
I
neat.
got a lot of mileage out of that. I used to sit on the pot for like hours reading all this, going through all this documents about the Martian lander and stuff.
Yeah.
That was back in the days before cell phones and stuff like that. You had to.
I disagree with the results that they had out. I
Right.
watched several documentaries, and I absolutely believe that
They
that
detected life.
that they detected life. They detected
Yeah.
life in a way that didn't necessarily fully coincide with how we consider life, but I think
Right.
they're going to find out once they actually go there that what Viking had the answer.
Yeah.
It was just a different kind of answer than what they were expecting.
Yeah, the weird thing is that they stopped trying to make experiments to detect life. Now they're just like mostly trying to just examine the soil for water and maybe try to find fossils or something like that. But for some reason, they lost interest in trying to actually do experiments that would determine whether there's microbes in the soil or not.
I think part of that decision was made because they kind of jumped the gun when they were initially doing like the Viking probes. They didn't they For them to be able to detect life, they would have to send a craft that in and of itself was so completely sterile from any kind of life form that we might have sent to Mars with it.
Right. No tardigrades.
No
That's for sure.
tardigrade. Oh god. No, don't start me at the tardigrade thing. Uh and as well that the experiments that they did where they have to put the nutrients and whatever with the soil to see if it'll react couldn't start a new life form in situ on Mars either, so that when we got there they were like, oh yeah, there's life. Well, no, not really. It was life that we brought there but is now prevalent in the biosphere.
Right.
So I think they just decided that they were going to have to find it another way.
Yeah. But so you started a whole nother discussion, which we probably shouldn't go to. We should be wrapping up right now. But so the thing is though, space rocks get flown around our solar system, and we've got meteors on Earth that came from Mars.
Yep.
So the planets are sending, and we've looked in asteroids. Asteroids have uh, enzymes, and complex building blocks of life
Yeah.
in them. We've discovered it. So it's not like this stuff isn't migrating around anyways.
Yeah,
So
you just want to know, did it really develop on Mars though?
first,
First, that to me is the thing. Yeah,
that sounds really plausible to me. I think it's I buy that theory that life might have first started on Mars and then seeded itself on Earth. So like if they find Martian life eventually and they discover that the DNA is similar to what we have on Earth, I wouldn't be that surprised.
they say that there's actually life on Venus that is the density of the atmosphere on Venus is so dense that that life may have formed in an upper cloud layer, it's not ground based. It's just life
Right.
that floats in the air.
Or it might have migrated up there because there was a time now it's pretty well accepted that Venus was very Earth-like.
At one time,
millions of years ago, yeah.
Yeah.
Before it got the runaway greenhouse effect.
But then again, if they keep seeing UFOs in New Jersey, maybe we'll get the answer in a different way.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, that's a good note to wrap it all up on.
Yeah, let's leave it on that.
Let's we should probably just shoot down one of those drones so we can examine what the pilots
I'm so
are
sick of
doing
them
or not.
saying we don't know what it is yet. Shoot one of them fuckers down. Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Shoot one of those things down.
Yeah.
It's that easy. Duh.
Yeah. All right. Well, we might have to take our matters in our own hands soon.
All right.
All right. So, wrap it up.
Yep.
So, anything else you want to promote? Is there any links you want me to put in the description or anything like that? Or
you know what? Can I send those to you in an email?
Yeah.
Okay. I also want to send you a link to that the book that for the Orville.
Okay, yeah.
Because it has the cutaway poster in it, and you really need to see that.
Okay.
Matt really knocked in. I guarantee once you see that, you're going to want to put him on the show. His experience is connected to mine, but he's 11 years younger than me.
Yeah.
And he sees things quite a bit differently for me, and he has other experiences. He's done work for NASA folks.
Cool.
So
okay.
He has his own level of fascination, and he helped design how the Phoenix worked in First Contact, how the Phoenix worked,
Oh, we can do that.
Yeah, so
we can have him on the show for sure.
Yeah, he's a different vibe, but
plus he's a fellow Matt man, so of course that gives him an in.
Oh, and one more thing.
Yeah.
He plays the cello.
Oh, well, for sure he's got to be on my show then. In fact, we should do cello duets over Zoom.
He is huge on the cello.
Oh, cool. All right, he has to go to Vegas. Tell him the next time he goes to Vegas, Star Trek Las Vegas, to bring his cello, and we can do duets.
Okay, I'll tell him.
I'll totally do it with them.
All right, cool.
All right. So live long and prosper, my friend.
Thank you.
And we shall see each other yet again on the internet, or in real life in Vegas, or on the Star Trek cruise if you ever take that.
Pranakasha Production. Fantastic creations emerging spontaneously from the space of life.
For the benefit of all beings everywhere.
We gotta